sort of map what we're trying to accomplish in our teaching. Because just as the technology is changing so quickly, actually our outcomes are changing as well. So this is a list from the Institute for the Future about what competencies we are going to need in the future. And it's interesting because, as they point out, 4 of the top 10 jobs right now in the US didn't exist 5 years ago. Technology is changing so quickly. Social media marketing expert, for example, didn't exist 5 years ago. Everyone is looking for someone with that expertise now. So the Institute for the Future, and this maps, I have several others, but they all end up saying roughly the same thing. Transdisciplinarity may be a challenge for a university like this. It's certainly a challenge for our university. That is working across disciplines. The physics instructor and the English literature instructor need to come together and think about what's common in those two. How might we teach those together? What are the relationships? In other words, not going deeper and deeper into a single discipline, but having the ability to jump across and connect with colleagues in other disciplines. Transdisciplinarity. Novel and adaptive thinking. Social intelligence, understanding how teams work and how we work within the team and what the challenges are of personalities. Sense-making, virtual collaboration. So how do we collaborate? And these were examples that I was giving you of the cloud. How do we collaborate when not all of us are in the same space? Cross-cultural competency, and this is where all of you are essential. And I think they don't include it, but I think language and cross-cultural competency is essential in the future as we're coming up in the next few years. Even now it is. A design mindset means understanding what your final outcome is and working backwards from that without a set idea about how to do it. So, and this is how technological designers often work. So that you go and you brainstorm multiple solutions and you consider the systemic nature of the work you're doing and how your solution might have a negative impact on other parts of the system. So systems thinking or design thinking and computational thinking. So this means that what we're being asked to prepare our students for is a little bit different than what we've been asked to prepare them for in the past. And in fact, I'm beginning to wonder if this kind of classroom itself is a tool that is making us think in one way when in fact we may be needing to think in a different way. This classroom is not set up to encourage virtual collaboration or social intelligence. It's really designed to absorb information that's being delivered. And so there's a big shift in what we're needing to do. So here's what a flipped classroom is, and it may not be as popular here. It's a very big buzzword right now in education circles in the United States. It's recognizing that we have a limited amount of time as a resource with our students, and that technology is giving us an opportunity to shift how we use that time. The basic concept is that in a class, we have set up something like this. We give the students the information they need. They go home and they do homework. They struggle with it. So if I'm a math instructor, I tell them what the ideas are, I give them homework. They're supposed to go and do those ideas. But they may not have understood. And just sitting and listening may not have been the best learning approach for them to begin with. And so then they may struggle at home. So a couple of high school science teachers started flipping the way they did their class. They discovered that they could do their whole class on PowerPoint, their whole presentation. They could record their voice over it. They could put it on CDs, hand it out to their students, and the students would do that part as homework. So they did the homework before class, pre-work. They listened to the lecture. Then they did the assignments in class where the teacher was there to help them. And they did those assignments in small groups. There was collaborative learning, and there was a shift of the teacher's role from the deliverer of the information to the facilitator of working with the information. So this is coming out of the science world. As language teachers, I think a lot of this is already part of what we do. And if you think about that old way of thinking about teaching where there's presentation and practice and use, the argument here is that you take the presentation and you put it online, or you put it on a CD, so that you can do practice and use in the classroom. You make better use of your classroom time by focusing on those skills that they can't do as well on their own. Now, similar to this is a growing trend, which is this idea of a self-paced online classroom. And in this, it's the same thing. The input is online, and the practice is online, and then the test is online. And I'm sure you've heard of this. Just last week, MIT and Harvard announced edX, which will essentially be this kind of a thing, where they take some of their best lecturers, they videotape the lecture, much like you're doing right now. I'm sorry, I'm not the best lecturer. They take the best lectures, they put them online, and then they put practice activities for that physics lesson or that mathematics lesson online, and then they put a test online. And people from anywhere in the world can take it. Hundreds of thousands of people are taking these. It's making excellent use of the internet as a teaching tool, but I don't think it solves those competencies for the future that I was talking about. In fact, I think it does the opposite. Because you do this by yourself, you're not collaborating, you're not developing cross-cultural skills, you're not developing team-building skills. It's very good for discrete item learning. So in physics, there are very clear right and wrong answers. That would work great for that. Understanding the law of gravity and how it might play out, yes. But for something like what we do, like language teaching, I think this is a disaster. And yet, I think we're going to see it coming our way. And in fact, I worked on a project in China recently that's basically a complete English teacher in a box, right? You put the CD in, there's the English teacher, you get the information, they present the grammar point, they give you a practice activity. In the practice activity, they give you immediate feedback. If you give the wrong answer, it says, wrong answer, try again. That's kind of nice because as a teacher, if I have a huge classroom, I can't be giving that kind of feedback to each student in a practice session. So I see that's being useful. But beyond that, it kind of fades out. So for us, as we're looking down the road as language teachers, the skills that we need to be building are those final set of skills, because I think we'll see the introductory lessons and the practice sessions moving to this kind of a world, but they still need us. And they need us to facilitate the time that we're in the here and now together in a classroom, which is the only way we can learn these cross-cultural skills and these team skills that are necessary as essential competencies for the future.